Ahoy, my friends, Ryder here, and welcome to another Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis video. Today I will be taking on the Iron Giant EX3 hunt. Not gonna lie, this one was pretty dang tough. And actually when I do these fights, it takes me so many tries that I just record them without me speaking on it, and then I voice over the battle later. So the voiceover will be coming after this, after I show you guys the build and what I used and why I used it. Alright, so getting into it, you can see we have a power level of about 176,000. The summons don't really seem to do much more damage than the limit breaks. I brought Ramuh for Zack, but honestly I think I could have just used his slash combo. For Cloud I brought his this limit break right here, cross slash, and then of course for Aerith I brought her healing wind. And then other than that, I do want to stress that when you use certain materials, like for example this material right here, Breach, as you can see, like I put Breach in slot 1 for Cloud, slot 1 for Aerith, and slot 1 for Zack. The reason I do that, and then also if you look here at the D-Brave for Cloud, Zack, and Aerith, they're all in the same slot as well. And so the reason that I do that is because on this fight, you're going to be playing manual, most likely. I can't really imagine playing it another way, but you're going to be playing it manual, and you're going to be switching back and forth a lot between the characters. And so sometimes when, you know, your Breach is in slot 1 on Cloud and in slot 2 on someone else, or even in slot 3, it can become very disorienting trying to cast that spell. So this way, when I switch between any character, I already know that the first my first slot set up for them is exactly what I want it to be, or it's D-Brave, or it's Breach, etc. So that's kind of how I have this set up. You are going to want full Breach on all 3 of your characters, and full D-Brave on all 3 of your characters, unless you have some kind of weapon, like Tifa's leather glove, or Sephiroth's, I can't remember, it's like Radiant Aurora, something like that, the like kind of the pink looking sword. But as you guys can see, I don't really have a weapon like that, or nor could I use Tifa for this setup, so this is what I basically used. So I'm just going to go into Cloud first, and we'll run over him really quick. So I am using the Murasame OB8, and then I'm also using the Maritime Sword. This sword is very clutch in this fight. If you happen to have this OB6, I imagine this fight is going to be a lot easier because Cloud is going to be doing a lot more damage. Like if you look at the OB6 right here, it deals 620% as opposed to, let's see, 480%. So it's a huge improve. But like I said, if you don't even have that, if you just have the OB1 Maritime Sword, I do believe that it is possible. So for Cloud here, if we're looking at the stats, he's sitting at 7k HP, about 2900 attack. You want him to be as strong as possible without sacrificing his HP. It is a little bit tricky choosing your sub-equipments. And then for other than the Breach and the D-Brave materia for Cloud, I just chose this Quake Hera Blow just for the good stats right here. And then going into his sub-equipments, I am running the Glyrid for the physical attack and limit break potential. Then I'm running the Crystal Gloves, essentially just because it has a massive HP stat on it. And then last but not least, I'm running the Buster Sword. It has HP and attack. So if we go to his abilities, we can see that physical attack is at level 7, water potency at level 2, limit break level 2, HP level 5, etc. So all in all, that really helps Cloud to do more damage, along with using this costume right here, which gave me a little bit, I think 20% more water ability damage, which did add to his damage overall. Alright, so now we're going to go over to Aerith. Aerith, I'm using a Fairy Tail OB7 along with the Umbrella Rod. I did try the Mithril Rod, but my Mithril Rod is not really strong enough, and the buff costs a lot of ATB, and she often doesn't have the time to use it. So honestly, the only reason I use this is if she just so happens to have a little bit of extra ATB, then I can throw this debuff on the Iron Giant and kind of make up for Zack's job. As you guys will see in a little bit, he also has a sword that reduces physical defense on the enemy. And then for Aerith's middle materia, this is probably one of the most clutch materias in this fight, at least for me. So what this is like a 1200 single target HP heal with that only costs 3 ATB. So when Iron Giant, he will either do full AoE attacks or he will do single target attacks. But you don't want to be using your Curaga to heal those single target attacks. It wastes a lot of ATB and it doesn't heal that. It's an AoE heal, so it heals a little bit less, right? But this one right here has 3 ATB cost, heals for about 1,000 to 1,200 if you're in the defense stance, and you can like double cast it real quick if you have ATB saved up, and it makes it really helpful, as you guys will see in the fight to come, for like getting back up one single character if you need to. As for her sub-equips, I am using the Lifeguard Wraps OB6, the 1,000 Waves, and then also the Beach Parasol. Her stats are, her HP is at around 6.8k. To be honest, if I could have gotten her a tad higher, I feel like she would have a higher chance of surviving in the late fight. But then again, he just gets really, really strong when he gets that undispellable blue attack buff. So it is pretty dang hard. Alright, so moving last but not least into Zac. Here we have Zac. He has the lowest HP of them all, but he tends to get targeted the least out of all of them from what I find. His HP is at 6.4k, he's got 2,000 physical attack, and basically what I'm using Zac for is a full-on debuffer. He does do some extra damage right here, like with the water blow, and it has really good stats on it, and then because I have the Black Whiskers, if you go right here to the special materia, it gives water ability damage plus 30%, that's why it's in the second slot. Then we also have our Breach, we have our D-Brave, and then this weapon right here, I only have it OB1. I actually only pulled one of these on the banner, and then I just used his like Zac specific weapon parts to get it OB1. So right here, this is going to reduce his physical defense and water imperil him, which is really, really helpful for letting Cloud do more damage. And then in his second slot, I just have a level 80 base 5-star weapon. It is the Cutlass. And this weapon will reduce his physical defense, and if I cast it twice, it will go to high. So I have both Aerith and Zac able to reduce the physical defense in a stronger way than the regular Breach, which can definitely come in handy, especially in those little DPS phases. You know, you smack one of these on there, and then you just go to town trying to do as much damage as possible. So yeah, this is essentially my build for his sub-weapons. I'm using the Torn Wing, I'm using the Seaside Collar, but basically, like, this is just for HP, so choose anything you want for HP. Honestly, I think I'm using 2 things for HP, yeah. So I also have the Alnibi on here, which boosts ability potency, but you just want, I think, every character to be above 6.5k, if possible, because he really can hit hard, and unless you're, like, very on point with your ATB management, if you're like 1 D-Brave shy before he gets off one of his big attacks, it can mean the end of the fight, which is pretty freaking crazy. But all in all, I did enjoy this fight. I lost a bunch of times, which is one of my favorite things to do, is to try challenging content. So I hope that this guide helps you guys to clear the EX3 Iron Giant. I think if you just keep hammering it away at it, make little changes to your build, do whatever you need to do, you should be able to beat it. I will say that I switched Cloud over to a more DPS version of himself because I just wasn't doing enough damage fast enough. So you do want to have at least 1 dedicated DPS, but still have that HP on them, which I know can be difficult, but just do your best. And I believe that even if at first it seems like you might not make it, I think that if you keep working at it, you'll definitely be able to do it. Alright, well, that being said, let's get into the fight and see how it goes. Alright guys, so here is the Iron Giant fight. It is a pretty dang tough one, I'm not gonna lie. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're just gonna save up your ATB with Aerith, and basically just wait for him to cast this first move, and then immediately just debrave him with everyone. Every single time he does this attack up move, you're going to want to debrave it all the way down to 0 and then into -1. So debuff him physical attack 1 time. As you guys will see, I'll get that off right here. Alright, that's going to allow you to survive his first move. Actually didn't even get to the -1 right there. but I was still able to luckily survive. For this battle, you do need a lot of HP, and even my 6.8k on Aerith, as you guys will see at the end of this video, is not going to be enough. From here on out, I'm just going to try and do some damage, and then basically go into the straight barrier breaks on him so that you can topple him. As soon as that's going, basically with Cloud and Zac, I'm just essentially trying to use their... with Cloud, you're just basically using C-Splitter the whole time, unless he's debraving or using the barrier break. And then with Zac, you just want to keep up his debuffs up. I am using his defense break on his second weapon, just in case Aerith doesn't have enough ATB to use her Night Bloom ability. Alright, so there was the second attack right there. Gonna get off the breaches right here and then just try and do as much damage as possible. Slowly accumulate our limit breaks right here. Alright, so just try and do as much damage as you can. With Aerith, I'm kind of always letting the ATB fill a little bit more. And as you guys can see here with Aerith, I'm using the Healing Asuna Poison as a really fast single target cure, which honestly makes this fight much more doable. And then right here with the limit break, what I did was I waited for him to attack, or right when he was about to attack, and then I cast it, because he's still going to want to get off that same animation attack. So right when he starts to do it again, I'm just going to use Cross Slash in a moment over here. Alright, and so you can kind of use that to stall him a little bit and to do as much DPS as possible. Alright, so I'm getting off the single target heal on Cloud. Gonna take a hit on Aerith and gonna just try and do as much damage as possible, like I was saying before. If he's fully debuffed, like barrier break 3 times on the physical defense and the water imperil, then Cloud should do about 20k with C-Splitter, and mine is like only OB3, I believe, so I think if you have an OB6 C-Splitter, this is going to be a lot easier. But essentially, you're going to want to keep your character's HP completely topped off the entire fight, so in between his like big named attack phases, you're going to always want to heal back up to full. Alright, now we are just going to debrave him back down, and he's going to go into his little diamond sigil break. So we're just going to use the physical defense debuffs right here to take that down and then break the sigils. But for this phase, I kind of slow down just a tad bit, try to utilize it as much as possible, get in as much damage as possible, if you can. Alright, so we're down to the 2 sigils right there. He is toppled. Alright, and just letting Cloud go rampant right here. You're going to get a pretty decent window right here to do damage. So with Aerith, I started off with Night Bloom because I still have time to heal. Alright, she'll still get off the Curaga, but as you can see, yeah, they're pretty close to topped off. Alright, and the debuffs are looking good. You want to make sure that the debuffs are on the Iron Giant essentially the whole time you're doing DPS, because it will basically double Cloud's damage if it's fully debuffed. Alright, so here comes the In Spirit. And we're just going to straight debraves as fast as possible. You have to have ATB. You kind of have to learn this fight and do it over and over again to get the timing of it, because when he's getting up to these in spirits, I'm like preparing ATB so that I can really knock it down. Alright, so here's going to come the Grand Sword. Alright, so not too bad. We did fully get him physical attack debuffed into the -1. I am going to immediately use Healing Wind right when he was about to do his Mighty Guard right there. Alright, which should break his animation for a second, give us a little bit of time to do some more damage right here. Alright, so there's going to be the Mighty Guard. Then we're just going to go straight into the same rinse and repeat cycle again. It does get a little bit gnarly once he does his like full blue undispellable physical attack up that's coming up in a second. But right here, we do have him toppled. You're just going to try and debrave him, get all of your HP to max, and get him to physical attack -1. Alright, so we're almost there. The Heavy Slash is charging, so I will use a debrave. Be careful, because sometimes if you hit it too early, it will wear off. Alright, but all the characters are topped off. I'm going to leave my Command Stand Sigil, change it over at the last possible second. Alright, now here comes the next Heavy Slash. Ooh, does a lot of damage. This dude hits so hard. Alright, so From here, I'm just going to use the single target cures on Zac. They are very fast, and it's an easy way to get one character back up instead of wasting the ATBs on Curaga. All right, so there is that blue buff that he uses. So his next, like, kind of grand slash or whatever they are, heavy slash, is going to be very, very strong. He absolutely has to be D-Brave all the way to physical defense -1. He also, you also have to be completely capped off on all of your characters, and even then it can sometimes kill you, so kind of crazy. So right here I just used the limit break to interrupt his animation, to just stall him as much as possible to get as much DPS in, because I was trying this with like more of a tankier build, and it works more if you have like, if you just go straight DPS. I mean, you can't give up your HP, you need it at the minimum 6.5k, but it does help at the end to be able to do damage quickly, as you guys will see coming up. All right, so I just interrupted his attack again with Ramuh right there. There's Judgment Bolt. All right, the debuffs are still looking good, hanging in there. All right, so here comes the Curaga, getting everyone topped off. Here comes his ability. Try to block those if possible. All right, so now he's gonna be gearing up for his next big ability, and this one is going to really hurt because he has that blue physical attack buff that cannot be dispelled. So he's going to do a decent amount of damage no matter what you do, but you're still going to want to debrave him all the way down to -1 and fully heal up and have your command stance fully charged. So that little line that goes down along the diamond right there, if it's not all the way to the top, it's like really, really hard to survive. And you guys will see that even though I handle it as well as possible, Aerith was still going to just barely die right here. All right, so here comes the Inspirit. You're going to immediately debrave as fast as possible. Get down those physical attack buffs that he has. Get him into the -1. Make sure all of your characters are full HP. Switch over to the guard stance and then just pray. All right, so right here, I believe Aerith is going to go down. Oh no, she does survive that one. It's the next one she doesn't survive. All right, so I'm going to counter this with Healing Wind. Get our HP back up. And now I'm kind of going full attack mode. I mean, I'm still going to be, you know, breaking his barriers and breaking his brave, but you're trying to get as much damage in here as fast as possible. All right, so here comes the next Inspirit. We did get the topple, but right here our HP is kind of low, so I'm trying to debrave him as quickly as possible while healing everyone back up to full. All right. As you can see, like, playing this other than on manual would be basically impossible. For anyone who did the Sephiroth critical threat fights, they are basically the same thing. This one's maybe even gnarlier, honestly. All right, so full HP, but you see my diamond sitter right there is not fully charged, and because it's not fully charged, this hit is going to take down Aerith. All right, actually it did way more damage, so I don't even know if it would have survived that anyway. But from this point on, it is a full stakes gambit. I am just going to go full on DPS till the end of the match. I accidentally used that limit break right there, but I would have saved it to interrupt one of his animations. And from here on out, I'm just going to go full born with Cloud and Zac. So Cloud is just going to be using Sea Splitter. Zac is going to be using Water a Blow whenever he can. And then he's going to just be debuffing so that Cloud can get off the most damage possible. Like, if they get a little window like they will right here, you can get a decent amount of damage in quickly. As you can see, Cloud is doing really good damage against him. And with Zac over there, I'll just switch intermittently. I'm not too worried about his regular attacks. I'm really just trying to get as much damage in as I can before he gets off another one of his big named attacks. All right, so I switch to the defense block right there, switch back to Cloud, essentially just charging Sea Splitter as much as possible, and just try to do as much damage here as you guys can. As you can see, this was a pretty close fight. There was another fight that I had that would have been cleaner, but I ended up taking like an AoE loss right at the end, which was brutal. All right, so doing some damage from Cloud. There's Zac right here. He's going to go for the Water a Blow. Switching back to Cloud. All right, as you can see, I'm running out of time. He's going to definitely start charging his next ability. All right, but it looks like we should have this in the bag. All right, here comes the Sea Splitter from Cloud. Gonna take him real close, and he is going to go down. So there it is. That is the Iron Giant EX3. Honestly, I did this fight a bunch of times tonight. I don't know, maybe like 20 times. And I just slowly got better and better and better and better. But that last like quarter of his HP, once he gets that blue buff, that is the part that is really brutal. So you just have to be really prepared. You have to know when to save your ATB, when to use it, when to debuff, when to cure, which all happens from just fighting this battle over and over again. I'm happy to help anyone in the comments below. So if you guys have any questions about this, I'm happy to help. And I wish you guys all the best with this clear. It's definitely going to be really hard. The solo is completely out of the question for me. So yeah, that being said, I wish you guys the best in the world. Take care, have a wonderful day, and cheers.